We've covered the manifesto, why it was culturally significant, who the audience is, why it was lambasted in tech media as well.
And why you wrote the open letter in response, because you got totally stressed out by a bunch of people critiquing Marc.
We've touched upon some of the main themes of the manifesto and the response, of course. Covered Dubai, the UAE, why one might choose to be here instead of somewhere else.
So, Arto, you and I have known each other for a while. We've been meaning to do this for a while, right? Been meaning to try and get together and put a mic in our mouths and a camera in front of us, right? I wanted to talk to you about the open letter you wrote, okay? As a response to Marc Andreessen's Techno-Optimist Manifesto.
Well, let's talk about who Marc is. I don't think everybody knows that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So Marc Andreessen is a tech legend. He is the creator of the first popular web browser, the Mosaic browser, back in the early 90s.
Okay.
So that is actually the second web browser, I believe, that was created. The first one was Tim Berners-Lee's original one, but that only ran on the Nextcube, and not that many people had that.
Right.
So Mosaic rebranded to Netscape, and the rest is history.
Marc comes out with this manifesto about techno-optimism recently. What's the significance culturally of that document to you?
Since about 2015 or so, the future outlook in the tech world has been shittier and shittier.
Yeah, fair enough.
And we just gone full bore on the pessimist bandwagon. Now I think what changed, or what perhaps was the straw that broke the camel's back for Marc, was everything around AI. So given that AI now finally, let's say, is delivering something fantastically useful as of late in multiple domains, we have the situation where that should be a cause for a lot of optimism. But in fact, of course, as you have seen, there's a contingent, perhaps even a fairly large one, of people who are advocating almost for the doom of humanity.
I remember watching Good Morning America, watching it as a kid, and the reporters there, or the talking heads, they were all like debating, oh, is this a fad? What are you talking about? Email? What the hell is email, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, somebody's going to send me something, but why can't they just call me? So I can imagine someone like Marc going, I remember what you guys did with the web, all right, and people coming out saying, this is here today, gone tomorrow, this is not going to be great, this is da-da-da, being so pessimistic about it. And then this, now with AI, like you said, huge revolution, right? Huge effect, shall we say, on the world. Economically, I think I read somewhere, was it PwC, that said $15.7 trillion will be contributed to the global economy in the next 6 years through AI. So it's clearly another world-changing revolution of technology that's going to make our lives better in so many ways that even most of us can't even fathom yet. I imagine that Marc went, okay, that's it. I've had enough. All right. Do you guys understand what we're going through right now? Right. And I think he mentions nuclear power as an example of what happened.
Yeah, what an example. Yeah, I didn't have a chance to cover nuclear power in the letter to Marc, just because of brevity. But what happened with nuclear power is a travesty. Consider right now the situation in Europe. You have France, which is, of course, the supermajority of energy is produced by nuclear, and right next door you got Germany. And how can you even mention Germany without smiling now?
Right.
When that showcases the worst of democracy.
Right.
Where according to H.L. Mencken, the people know what they want and they deserve to get it good and hard. And certainly that's the case with the energy production in Germany. So as a result now, of course, they're importing it from France, so it's still nuclear.
Yeah. I thought it was a great example by Marc. The manifesto today illustrates some of the things that we need to be thinking about and the approaches that we need to be taking. Would you agree with that?
Well, the manifesto is a reactionary document, fundamentally.
Okay.
And the reaction is against the trend lines. The trend lines have been growth of government. The trend lines have been increasing pessimism about the future.
Right.
We also have, let's say, in some way, increasing tech illiteracy, or at least the gap of understanding there between what a non-techie, how he perceives things to work, versus earlier times when you had a closer connection to the computer and you had to understand more.
Right.
That has also been an issue.
You wrote an open letter as a response to Marc Andreessen's Techno-Optimist Manifesto.
Yeah.
Do you want Marc to read your open letter?
Certainly, I did actually write it for him.
Right. Okay. But why would you want him to read it? What do you think he's going to get out of it?
A different perspective than he's got currently. And I know that he's been to the region, Saudi Arabia, but I found no evidence in my research that he's ever been to Dubai.
You're asking him to come to Dubai then?
That's right. What I'm telling Mark is come and see.
All right. But then there is an issue of ambition, right? You want to show Marc the ambition in Dubai.
That's right.
Who else would you put on that list?
Oh, I think it was Peter Thiel who recently complained. He was looking through his portfolio.
All right.
And he concluded that every single startup in his portfolio is not ambitious enough.
Oh, wow.
As in, he was complaining about the lack of ambition.
I think you owe Peter a message straight into that camera saying to call you.
Call me Peter.
Okay. And who else would you put on that list?
Well, obviously, there's the likes of Elon Musk, but I think he's well situated in Texas already.
What do you hope they would achieve coming to Dubai?
I think that this is the leverage point where they would have the maximal effect on the future of mankind. So we've already covered some of the achievements.
But Marc is a patriot, right?
Yes.
I think to a certain degree Elon is too, right? Very much a patriot. Why would they come and build or invest in things that are going to change the world in Dubai?
I think that the first loyalty is not to a nation state; it's to mankind. Yeah, you can certainly see that in Elon's case.
What is it that broke the camel's back for you to respond in an open letter to the manifesto by Marc?
The response to the manifesto was varied, but not so much in the press. In the press, mostly the reaction was negative, and that includes the tech press.
Those armchair critics. I remember. I think is that what you called them?
Yeah. So somebody sitting comfortably on a couch somewhere and has very little idea about what he's criticizing, but that doesn't stop him.
Yeah, I read the TechCrunch one.
Oh, the one titled "When was the last time Marc Andreessen talked to a poor person?"
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, yeah,
it's like, what are you talking about? Do you even know where he came from and how he? And I think in your open letter you alluded to that.
Yeah. So Marc, of course, is a self-made man, and the journalist might have wished to do a little bit of reporting or journalism before writing that piece. Actually, Marc shows what is possible in America still today.
Right, yeah. It's interesting, though, that the tech press were not very kind to Marc on his manifesto. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's not so much about the manifesto in this case. It is more about the zeitgeist, I suppose.
Okay.
So if you take, for example, Wired magazine, something that I grew up reading,
right.
So in the 1990s, when I was in my teens, and just beginning to work as a software developer, Wired magazine was inspirational reading. Today, you pick up Wired magazine and you will not be inspired, that's for sure. they cover not only technology, first of all, so now they go into social issues, political matters, and so on, but then the lens through which they view technology has become distorted. So, for example, famously now in some circles, Elon Musk's Starship test flights. We are talking here about the largest, most powerful rocket ever built,
Right.
the rocket that's going to make us interplanetary as a species. So those launches were things that I watched with my family, on the sofa. That my kids are pretty young; they maybe won't remember, but I certainly wanted them to see these launches. But what does Wired magazine write about them? Well, yet another failure for Mr. Musk. This one lasted a few seconds longer, and then it blew up.
What the hell's wrong with these people?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, there was a moment where I said that enough is enough, and I wanted to pen something of a more positive response to Mark. Now, of course, he got some positive responses, individually from people on Twitter and elsewhere, but the tech press was just not kind. But that, of course, is the whole reason for the manifesto, in that these are just symptoms of our times.
Yeah.
So the thinking about the future, at some point it turned negative.
Right.
If you go all the way back to the 1950s, 1960s, people had a very positive outlook on the future. If you look at the magazines of the time, science fiction and the like, even popular magazines, you have flying cars, you have nuclear-powered cars, you have bases on the moon and Mars. So that gave away to the 1970s with the stagflation and oil crisis and all of that. And of course, famously, there is the meme, what the fuck happened in 1971? When a few things happened, no doubt, but the website, if you Google that, has all the graphs showing how the world went wrong after 1971.
You're right. What was the response to your open letter like?
Well, it's been just a few days, but it went viral.
Have you got a few people poking you?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Of course. So it went relatively viral in a smaller way, of course, than the manifesto, and we had mostly a positive response.
Okay, that's good.
But of course, what always happens in any kind of let's say praise of capitalism, praise of free markets, praise of Dubai as exemplifying those things, you always have the same kind of responses who come out of the woodwork.
Right.
So yeah, a decent share of that.
Arto, at the end of your open letter, all right, you clearly make what I think is an inside joke. Who is John Galt? And I didn't get it. I didn't understand that inside joke, and I don't even know who John Galt is.
Yeah, it is a bit of an inside joke. That's a good way to put it. This is a call out from Ayn Rand's famous novel, Atlas Shrugged,
Okay.
which has been called the second most important book for Americans after the Bible.
Really?
Yeah, in polls in the 1990s, certainly.
Okay.
And that was the result. And it's certainly a book that had a major effect on my own intellectual development. And of course, it has done that for millions of others. I'd say with certainty that somebody who has thought about these questions outlined in the manifesto, like Marc Andreessen, has read that book. So this is a call out. In the book, the phrase "Who is John Galt" is used by any number of protagonists and, let's say, non-player characters,
Okay.
NPCs, to sort of indicate that the world is broken, but what can you do about it? It's just one of these expressions of dismay and despair.
Right.
Who is John Galt? Right. Anyway.
Yeah.
And of course, what's happening in the book is that there's a couple of reasons why the world is getting shittier and shittier, much like the Western world today.
Right.
And I don't want to spoil the book, so I'll just leave it at that.
Like, I've been living in Dubai for 23 years. I have a British citizenship, but I'm from Yemen. The UK provides me opportunity, but no dignity. Yemen provides me dignity, but no opportunity. When I came to Dubai, I found both, and so I stayed.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. You've now been in Dubai for 3 years. And in your open letter, you use Dubai as a case study to respond to Marc and his manifesto.
Yes.
Tell me why you didn't use any other city.
Well, first of all, the other cities that one might use, Singapore and Taipei in particular, well, I don't know them that well. But Dubai, you speak about being an old-timer in Dubai. I wish I was as well. If I actually knew what Dubai is, if I knew it earlier, I would have come here a decade earlier. It was probably a case of prejudice against the Middle East.
Well, media, I guess. I mean, The Guardian is a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
Every time Dubai does something and achieves a first or a tallest or a biggest or, breaks a record of some sort.
That's right.
The Guardian is right there saying, well, I don't know if we had your oil money, we could blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, this was actually very clear in doing the research for the open letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for example, about technologies like desalination and cloud seeding and so on. I frequently encountered Guardian stories about Dubai.
Oh, really?
And they
you will.
And they are slanted in the way that you say. So
yeah.
It was a clear pattern there.
It could have taken you literally 30 seconds to Google GDP, all right, or Google Dubai economy, and no, that's not the case.
That's right. These days, when visitors come for the first time, I like to put them on the spot with this question.
Oh, really?
Yes, I like to ask them, how much of the GDP of Dubai do you think is based on oil?
Right.
And the answer is invariably around half.
Wow.
Yes, and back in the day, that's what I thought too.
Right.
So imagine my surprise when I learned that it's less than 1%. I believe it's actually on the order of 0.5%.
Yeah, Dubai never started on a very high number with oil.
It seems clear that there's an almost instinctive response whenever Dubai in particular is brought up in an online discussion. I've observed it on Twitter, Reddit, Hacker News.
Really?
Anybody mentions Dubai positively, and the attacks are sure to follow.
But do you notice that those accounts that attack Dubai are like accounts that were opened 3 months ago, 6 months ago?
No. So of course, there's always that kind of a thing going on as well. But mostly this is a deeper problem. If we took Dubai seriously, if the Western world really truly looked at Dubai, understood their achievements, that would be a mirror that would be very uncomfortable for the current state of the Western world.
Yeah. Money can build you things, material things, right? But it can't manage it. People manage it, right? Money can't make your airport the busiest airport in the world. Money can't get you to use technology sustainably, right? That's a decision you have to take before you go and spend money on
I think much more simply, all the money in the world, and Lord knows this subcontinent, this peninsula has a lot of money in the world.
Right.
But all the money in the world will not make your little plot in the desert the 4th most visited city in the world.
Very good point.
Money is a necessary but not sufficient precondition.
Absolutely.
And that's, of course, what's devalued when the typical discussion about Dubai happens online these days.
Right.
There's sort of standard responses that you see. And this is why I began to think that it's very much like challenging somebody's religion or ideology. A certain repertoire of canned responses that automatically mustered in defense to something attacking, a sacred cow.
Right.
And so in this case, the the sacred cow appears to be that if we actually acknowledge Dubai's success, then that throws some doubt on whether the Western world is heading in the correct direction. And therefore you get this fundamentally emotionally motivated responses. And one of them exactly is, of course, if we had that oil flowing from the ground, we could do all that too.
Exactly.
But the thing is, you couldn't.
Look, it's about ambition.
Yeah.
And it's about optimism.
And it's about vision.
Yes. So going back to Marc's manifesto in your open letter, right? You both talk about optimism, leadership, management. All right. And this is very important because these are the decisions. The decisions are taken from that, from the optimism, right? From the ambition to do well for humanity. So somebody said a pessimist is right 99% of the time, right? And an optimist is right 1% of the time, but it takes an optimist to change the world.
Yes, exactly. Right? And that, of course, echoes Henry Ford's sentiment.
Okay.
That whether you believe it's possible or not, whether you believe you can do it or not, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Attributed to Henry Ford, I should say.
I've traveled the world speaking on several different stages, not several, hundreds of stages around the world. And in some parts of the world, when people know that I've done as many startups as I've done in my life, they think, this guy's amazing. But I think to myself, if you lived in Dubai, it would be normal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A different baseline.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not a reflection on who I am. It's a reflection on the environment in which I live in. Hey, let's register a company for this. That's a great idea. Let's get started.
Yeah, so this is a place for human flourishing, Dubai and the UAE.
Right.
It doesn't matter what is your socioeconomic background, your starting point, let's say, how much of a leg up your parents and your grandparents gave you. Right. In any case, you come over here and you can better your lot in life.
Okay, so we're here in Dubai. You and I, we live here. We take a lot of things for granted, and that's something that we're all very guilty of. But you called Dubai in your open letter a terraforming project, or one of the first terraforming projects.
Yeah,
right?
This is.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, this is really a perspective I developed during my second year here.
Okay.
It might have been, I'm not sure exactly, but it might have been at the top of the view at the Palm. So This is, of course, the 250-meter tower constructed so that you can actually view the Palm as the Palm, because otherwise you cannot appreciate where you live, right? You need to be able to see it. You would only see it from space or an airplane. So as I gazed over, not so much the Palm, but over all of the, let's say, continental Dubai that I could see, stretching from horizon to horizon, because Dubai is a vast city, not fully built up as yet, but it stretches 100 kilometers.
Well, as an Emirates, yes.
Yeah. So as I looked to Burj Khalifa, 25 kilometers distant to my left, and I looked to Production City and beyond, the perspective was obvious that it struck me that this is a vast terraforming project.
Okay.
That there was nothing here but desert.
What do you mean by terraforming? Some people are not going to understand what you mean.
Yeah. So terraforming is the idea of taking a marginal or uninhabitable environment and changing that environment through technology to make it suitable and indeed comfortable for human habitation.
Hence Palm Island.
Yes, but usually terraforming is applied, let's say, in a science fiction sense to the future. So Elon Musk famously talks about, he would be, let's say, the main proponent of terraforming in the present day, although the concept predates him by quite a lot. But he's talking about the future vision for Mars, where he and his successors will terraform Mars to have an atmosphere more suitable to human life. Mm-hmm. Will work on the soil to introduce microorganisms that will help grow, for example, potatoes on Mars, and so on. Now, we don't need to go to the far future. These are centuries-long projects. We can just observe it. We have a number of marginal habitats on this planet. And certainly the Arabian Peninsula is pretty marginal as these things go. From this sense, if you think about the starting point, as you well know, 50, 60 years ago, there were not that many people here. This was a very difficult place to live without electricity, without air conditioning, without cooling of any kind.
The terrain was unforgiving.
Yeah, and the sun beat down on you, and in summers you almost had to shut off your brain because what you're gonna do? It's even in the night you would have to sleep wrapped in wet blankets on the roof of your house.
I remember it in my own lifetime.
In Dubai?
No, in Yemen.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And perhaps for those who don't realize it, the combination of high temperature and high humidity is particularly lethal. So what's usually called a wet bulb temperature of just 50 degrees centigrade plus will actually kill you because it will cook you. Once the air is saturated with water, with moisture, you no longer can get rid of heat through sweating. And as a result, the proteins in your body will cook. Yeah, so in just a couple of generations, from a starting point of just a couple 10,000 people living in a sleepy village, to one of the great cities of the world, which is on metric after metric, flipping the likes of Hong Kong and New York.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's truly one of the great stories of all time, and that's why I think it's so frustrating when Dubai is mentioned in the Western media or online. We get this kind of knee-jerk reactions.
I know. I'm not surprised. You know, I lived 11 years in the UK. Anybody that achieves or progresses and moves on without requiring their help,
Yeah.
all right, is seen as, yeah, well, it's not that great of an achievement, right? They're still holding on to the Industrial Revolution, right? We've already had 3 revolutions after that.
Well, I think that the actually one of the major problems with the West is resentment, and this is very evident in my native country of Finland. The actual reason, as in what cooked me over, why I left the country as soon as I could after coming of age, it was actually a boom, a little bit similar to today. So it was the tech boom, the dot-com boom, and what happened is that the 2 brothers who basically gave everybody an internet connection, so one of the first ISPs in Finland, and I believe the origin of still today the largest ISP in Finland, internet service provider, they became the first internet millionaires in Finland. Right. They made a decent amount of money, obviously, from even that small populace wiring up. Now, what happened next was actually dismaying compared to, let's say, the stories I was reading from again, Wired magazine from the Valley. These 2 brothers, they bought what probably were the first Lamborghinis in Finland. Really? Yeah, so they had a couple of Lambos and they like to show them off. Now this would be okay in a country like America, or it would be okay in Dubai, but in Finland it was not okay. And what happened was that there was a massive envy and resentment reaction from the populace as a whole. And so in Finland, if you speed, the fine is proportional to your income. So what happened is that
I heard about this, and I still to this day think it's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah. So what happened is that they drove 20 over in some area where no doubt a lot of other people routinely drive 20 over, but they ended up on the front page of the major newspapers with a sort of ha-ha reaction. Look at these fools, right? They got what they deserved, right? This is their reward for having brought internet to the populace. Right. So this is really, for me, it was kind of a breaking point. I knew about this kind of attitudes, but that manifested it so clearly. Much later, I came to learn that there's this whole set of attitudes, which is a very Nordic set of attitudes. It has a name. It's called the law of Jante, or Jantelagen, as we would say in Swedish. and it is typical of the Nordic countries, but of course by no means limited.
What is this law?
Well, I haven't it all memorized, but
just give me a general feel. I'm really interested now.
Well, it's basically the 10 unwritten commandments of the Nordic countries, of Nordic societies. So it's a social contract, which can be summarized as you are not to think you're better than us. That's the bottom line.
But what if you are?
Well, that's the problem. Then perhaps you should find
somewhere else.
Yeah, another place to live. But be that as it may, certainly it wasn't the place for me. I was always much more of a, let's say, valley kind of attitude, as in celebrate achievement, emulate achievement, be inspired by somebody like Elon Musk. Right. Don't try to tear him down. But what you see now is throughout the West, including in America, which once upon a time was a little different, you have this kind of base emotions like envy, resentment, jealousy, and other nasty things. They become very surface level now. They always existed to some extent, but when achievement is not celebrated, but it's envied, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah, I can see that. So you left Finland and you found yourself where?
Spain.
So was it an inspiring, ambitious place?
No, not at all. In fact, quite the opposite. So generally an environment where high achievers, if they are there, they did the high achievements somewhere else, and then they retired over there. So not an inspiring environment.
So then, how did Dubai come on your radar?
Well, that's a funny thing, right? I write in the open letter about Sheikh Rashid's dream.
Rashid, yes.
Yeah. So he had. I don't know if it's a true story or not, but in the City of Gold, Jim Crane recounts how he wanted. So Sheikh Rashid wanted the name of Dubai on the lips of everybody.
From what I know, it's hard for me to see him say something like that, all right, from the little I know. Because what I know is that he was very humble. Yes, he was ambitious, but he was also a humble man, right? And I can't see a humble man saying, I want the world to talk about Dubai and I want to be, on everybody. I can't see it, right? But was he ambitious? Yes. I was only in Dubai for about 3 or 4 years, right? I think it was like 2005, 2006, something like that. And I'm in New York, and I'm walking, and I'm crossing the street, and I'm Midtown Manhattan, around there, and 2 guys in suits crossing the street, and he goes, one guy tells the other guy, I don't know if you know, like peak time in Manhattan, when you're crossing the street, you kind of congregate all around one little place, and then walk, right? So you can hear the conversations between people. And one guy tells one suit tells the other suit, so where are you going on holidays this Christmas? And he goes, my wife wants to go to Dubai.
What year was this?
This was 2005, 6, something like that, right? Okay. My wife wants to go to Dubai.
So early even.
Yeah, and the other guy goes, where's that? Yeah. Right? What is that? And so they start talking and whatever, and keep walking, and I'm out of the I can't hear the conversation. In 2012 or 13, I'm in New York again, right? And I'm downtown, right? And again, it happens to me again. I'm walking down the street, and 2 guys are talking to each other, and one guy says, hey, how was the trip? And he goes, yeah, it was good. He goes, where'd you go? And the other guy goes, I went to Dubai. And the other guy goes, oh my God, I would love to go there.
Wow.
Right? And I looked at those 2 conversations, very random, in the same city, so similar demographics, but very different, right? And I looked at it as the evolution of Dubai, globally, right? That's how I perceived it, I should say. But how did Dubai ever show up on your radar?
Well, that's very hard to say, because I think, like most in the West, it somehow vaguely eventually appeared on your mental horizon.
Okay.
And most likely it would have been due to the construction of the Palm Island, I think.
Okay. did the advancement and progress of, shall we say, the acceptance of blockchain and crypto individuals, people in the crypto industry and blockchain industry, did that permeate over to you?
Yeah, certainly. So I did consider myself a little bit of a crypto refugee when I initially came here.
Oh, okay.
And as I went to some of the great meetups over here, like the Biddlers, Crypto Biddlers meetup.
Okay.
Biddler is a pun on builder. I met so many crypto refugees.
Right.
Well, more broadly, tax refugees, bureaucracy refugees, and the like.
Right.
From all over the world. Many came from Singapore. Others came from Europe. Some came from Australia. Not so many Americans, for maybe obvious reasons, given the global tax regime. But
I think Americans have other options.
As well, yeah.
All right, we're
Closer to
really
home.
far away. Yeah, they have a closer to home options.
Yeah, for sure. But in any case, I'd say that there was in my own observation, there was a major importer of some of the wealthier people.
Okay, so Silicon Valley versus Dubai.
Well, it's not something that I have perhaps sufficient personal experience with to contrast, but of course, as an observer of Silicon Valley for 30 plus years, what I would venture to say is that I would have been a better fit for the 1990s era Silicon Valley than for the present day. Let's just say that the culture wars in America are not going in until recently were not going in a great direction, and San Francisco would be quite intolerable for me.
Okay.
The Silicon Valley that once was is no more, and the diffusion of, let's say, the valley as in a broader sense, the valley culture perhaps in a broader sense, is happening even in America. So as you know, famously Elon Musk packed up and went to Texas.
Right.
And I hear Austin's a nice place to be. So I wanted to mention that, and many people over the past few years also moved to Miami.
Right.
So, for example, for cryptocurrency entrepreneurs, that became a bit of a hub, and famously the mayor of Miami was very welcoming.
Right.
So those are a couple of the diffusion targets in America. But internationally, there's nothing in particular that prevents anybody from building let's say a Valley type startup anywhere in the world. Even Valley investors have a bit more of a global outlook. It wasn't particularly difficult to fund my previous startup, for example, despite us being registered in Gibraltar and actually operating out of the UAE and Ukraine, of all places. Well, in any case, immigration to Dubai is tremendously easy. The easiest process in the world, as far as I know, and downright trivial. So far, I've helped as part of my companies here. I've helped something like I think 80 people go through the process. So it's pretty damn easy if you do it right.
Right.
It's always, you can always make things complicated for you, but virtually anybody from anywhere is welcome. As you know, even Israelis are welcome, which is not a given in Arab countries. This is not a place where you're going to have trouble staffing your companies. You can import the talent from anywhere in the world in case you can't find it locally.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Arto. You're the man.
My pleasure.